dog, the more control I have over my sheep. Does that make sense? The calmer he works, the calmer the sheep moves. So I have a set of commands for the dog. If I want to move him to the left, I say come by. If I want to move him to the right, I'll say away. And that's always the dog's left, the dog's right. If I want him to stop, I say lie down or stand. Sometimes I say lie down and he stands. Sometimes I say stand and he lies down. Sometimes I have to repeat it a few times because he's a male. He's got a little bit of split. Don't hold that against him. All right. He's not going to hear me. Besides the selective hearing point of view, he's not going to hear me on the hills on a windy day in Ireland. Okay. So how do I communicate? The whistle. Okay. Very useful tool. On a calm day like today, I'd be disappointed if they couldn't hear me up to about a mile away. So that will give you an idea just how helpful it is and how good their hearing is, all jokes aside. Left command, right command, stop command, and get closer to the sheep. Okay?
Ready to go.
He's kind of looking you up at me wondering, are you sick? Are you finished talking yet? I'm sick of you. Can we get working? So we're going to send him up the field, guys. I'm going to send him to the right hand side, and I'm going to try bring the sheep down the centre of the field as best as possible. Maybe I'll actually send him to the left. And we'll try bring the sheep down the field as calmly as possible. They're quite apprehensive animals. They're wild natured. They were just gathered off the mountain only 2 days ago, so they're still very, very apprehensive. You'll see what I mean when we start working, okay? We'll be gathering sheep towards us. First of all, we'll be moving sheep away from us. We'll talk about the breed. We'll talk about training dogs. We'll talk about colours on sheep, why the Irish farmers love painting sheep later. Lots coming up in conversation. And I'm sure people will have questions. We always have a little time at the end for some questions and answers. Is that okay? Yeah. Take photos and record. I see a lot of you with your phones and stuff out already. Take photos and record. You're more than welcome. So we'll get going. Is that okay? Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you can't tell where the sheep are?
Oh, he can't tell. He just wants to stick around. You can tell him to go up.
Oh my God.
Sheep should go on their own.
I don't need the dog. He's gonna come on here. Oh, he's being too distracted.
Hey. Hey. You can see initially when he ran up the field, he ran up very quickly. He was running into a corner, so obviously he got very close to the sheep, and they started moving very quickly at the start. But the calmer I started working him coming down the field, the calmer my sheep started moving. So that's important. He's always focused on the sheep. Come by.
Yeah.
And that's important as well, because believe it or not, these ladies, all they're thinking about is how can we escape from this situation. They're Scottish blackface. They're all female. Scottish Blackface are a very popular breed on our hills in Ireland. Very tough animals. They'll survive on the hills right through the winter time, foraging all different plants growing up there. Compared to other breeds, their survival rate is a lot higher on the mountains, which is why they're so popular. Those have maybe a very white-faced sheep called a cheviot. Cheviot, white-faced, no horns. Scottish Blackface, male and female, have those horns in their heads. Okay, come on, come. Stand. Ready? Come by. Stand. Come by. Stand. Now Jingo's herding them towards us, everybody. Stand. Up. Stand. Sometimes we have to negotiate a river, a valley, a cliff, a lake on the hill, so we need to be flexible with the dog's movement. So we're going to show you the dog moving sheep away from us as well as gathering towards us, okay? So we'll just be back down in a few minutes. We've moved them around the lower half of the field here. Is that okay? Watch when he goes left, they go right, and vice versa. So you can see the relationship between myself and the dog and the sheep. Okay? Come by. Come by.
Allergic to sheep, I think.
You can see the leader of the flock running away when she gets the chance. Nope. Any idea why that guy has so much control over those sheep, guys? Why does Jingo control the sheep so effectively? Forget about training.
Natural predator.
Natural predator, exactly. Predator prey. There's two animals here, sheep and dogs. Dogs are related to a wolf, whether we like it or not. Watch the way he approaches sheep with the stare, the focus in his eyes. Eyes are in front of his head, always looking forward. The sheep are a prey animal. Hundreds of years ago we had wolves in Ireland. We don't have any wolves or coyotes or bears or large predators like you guys have in maybe your part of the world. If you're from the States or Canada or maybe Europe as well, have wolves. The mainland Europe, so we're lucky. But the sheep are still apprehensive. They have the eyes inside of the head watching things coming from all different directions. So that's why when I move him left and he's behind them, they still move in different directions. Does that all make sense? The calmer we move our dog, even though he has that predatory instinct, the calmer our sheep are. So that's what we're trying to work on for centuries, that instinct between dog and sheep and other animals as well. They'll work your cows, your cattle, ducks, chickens. People say they herd their grandkids. Come by, ready. Ready. Eat. Ready now. Eat. Stand. Up. Stand. Up. Stand. Up. Eat. Stand. Ready. Any idea why we love painting sheep?
So you know who they are?
So we know whose they are, exactly. Nothing to do with pink sweaters or blue sweaters or any other colour sweater for that matter. The red in the back of the head has been our flock identification. So, like I said, we gathered these sheep off the mountain only a few days ago. I gave them a dewormer, I gave them a tick repellent, I gave them a mineral dose, I checked all their hooves to make sure their hooves were okay, and then we reapplied the red colour on them. Okay, so we do it quite often. Applying the colour on the sheep every time we gather them. It's our branding. It's very, very important in what we call the common area of the mountain. So what's a common area? The land we see behind us here, privately owned, boundaries defining it. Common areas, usually in a large mountain range, high up in the hills, thousands of acres, no boundaries. The farmers living at the base of that mountain range that own the private land at the bottom, more than likely have a right to graze the common area above. So there could be 20 or 30 different farmers. There's red, blue, green, purple and orange. If there's 20 or 30 different farmers putting their 20 or 30 different flocks up on the mountain at the same time, we need to come up with 20 or 30 different colour combinations. So that's why you see the multicolour sheep. Yeah? There's one major problem with the colouring system. Any ideas? Say that, go ahead.
No documentation, so you don't really know.
Well, there is documentation actually. Since the late 90s, you see that yellow tag on the ear? That's a government regulated numbering system, so that if a sheep is sold or born or whatever on a farm, they have a tag on them, a special number, so we can track them for the rest of their life. So that would be the formal documentation. The main problem I have with the colours is this colour. He doesn't care what colour sheep. We can move him a few yards, a mile away from us, but we can't get him to identify a different colour sheep on the mountain. I don't know if they're colourblind or what. I send them out looking for around 200 reds in the common area, and if there's more sheep nearby, what happens?
Gathers them
They'll
up.
all come together, they'll all flock in a group when they see him coming, and I could get instead of 200, I could get 300 or 400. We need to separate them. Take them back to the sheep handling facility that might be at the base of the mountain range, or even worse, back in the farmyard, which could be miles away. Separate them there. The time-consuming, that's the time-consuming version. The time-saving version is get your dog to help you out in the hills and separate sheep. Use his movements to your advantage. Are you all from the States or Canada? Well, a lot of you anyway, maybe. Yeah. Have you ever been to a rodeo?
Oh yeah.
So a cutting horse to the rodeo. Have you ever watched the way the cutting horse stops the cow getting back to the rest of the herd?
Yep.
It starts jumping back and over to stop them escaping. We're going to show you our version. So I'm up in the mountains and I see all these different multicoloured sheep coming back towards me. But if I start moving my dog, I can try and get some of the sheep that are not my colour to start escaping. I have an extra command that I didn't talk to you about earlier. It's in here or here. When the dog's on the opposite side of the flock and I say that, what does he do? He comes straight towards me.
Cuts it.
Almost like a scissors effect. And splits the sheep into two different groups with his movement. And it's up to me then to decide which group I take control of. So you'll see it all evolve now. There's 5 sheep here. Notice 3 of them have a shorter fleece. Just to make it interesting, we'll try and bring down the 2 sheep with the longer fleece. Okay, so we have to let those 3 escape. So we'll go back up the field and I'll come down with 2 sheep, okay? That's the plan anyway, hopefully it works. Go. Jink, go. Jink. Stick. Encouraging them to escape, so that's what we're trying to do now by positioning myself and the dog.
Scatter when you do that. Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Call the dog towards you, but straight away what these 2 try to do, split in different directions and follow the rest.
Yeah.
But just quick movements by the dog will stop them escaping.
Yeah.
Lie down.
Is there something he wants to do that?
Lie down.
Keep these 2 down.
Lie down. And if there's 200 or 300 sheep, you just have to work bit by bit to try and get some to escape. And the dog always takes control of the sheep that I walk towards. I mentioned earlier, guys, there's loads of sheep on the hills, but not so many at the moment. Is that fair enough to say? Where are they all? They're all down off the hills giving birth to baby lambs. Lovely time of the year. Maybe they've just given birth to lambs. Lambing season is just finishing. Starts in March for the hill farmers and finishes early May. We gather the sheep, we bring them down close to home so we can supervise them. Okay. There's a red fox trying to take baby lambs. That's our main predator for the lambs. Large sheep don't have many predators, or any predators for that matter. But if a sheep is giving birth to a baby lamb and she's having difficulty, you have to catch her quickly. You have to try and give help to that sheep giving birth to her lamb. You might need to call the vet some days. How do I get close to her out in the fields if she's lambing outdoors? Because as soon as I get close to her, what happens? They try and run away from me. But you can see the counteraction of the dog. He's moving to try and stop them escaping. Lie down. So that's how we go about trying to get a sheep close to a fence and try and get the situation where I'm close enough to basically do a rugby tackle of the sheep. Grab it quickly, the horns, the legs, usually the horns of the neck I try and grab. They'll wrestle me trying to escape. But if they're giving birth to a lamb, I need to be quick and I need to help them give birth. All part of everyday life, shepherding and farming. You won't be able to get close to that animal without the help of the dog. Simple as that. The shepherd's crook. People often ask me, what's the shepherd's crook for? The hook and the crook is used to go around the neck of the sheep if you're struggling to get close to them. Come, stand. And all those hundreds of years ago when we had predators in Ireland like wolves, the shepherds would have to have stayed out day and night with their sheep.
Yeah.
And they'd hang the lantern off this little hook here at the end of the crook and sit down at night and try and make sure the lamp would keep the presence of humans around the flock would keep the wolf away. Okay, so one last command to show you. So I'm out in the hills, and sometimes our summertime is coming upon us now, warmer weather. Fleece on the sheep is going to keep them too warm. It's a great source of warmth for them during the winter, but it keeps growing and growing and growing. The wool fleece, it's an insulant. We have to remove it once a year. Okay, I could get a phone call shortly from my contract shearer. I've booked him in for shearing, and he said he could say there's a fine spell of weather coming, Tom. I'm busy shearing. I'll be on tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. You might have only 24 hours to gather your sheep, so you send Jingo out for some red coloured sheep in the common area, and Jingo forgets some sheep instead of bringing too many. We need him to go back and get the sheep he's forgotten. So we've 3 sheep up the hill behind us now. They're getting higher and higher. I'm going to give Jingo a command. Turn around, turn around. As soon as I take turn around, he stops looking at the sheep he's working, and he goes back up the field. So if I'm gathering sheep and he's 200 yards away from me and I give him that verbal command, he'll run back whatever distance necessary to get those sheep that he's forgotten.
Wow.
Lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down! That's the selective hearing I was talking about. Lie down! Lie!
There he goes.
Lie! We can call him back when he's finished work. The sheep are joined together and we leave them go. So that'll do! That'll do!
Happy dog, I'm done. There we go. Love to work.
Jingo's a very loyal dog, guys. He's had that herding instinct since he was a very young age. They strive for work, they love work. They're workaholics, believe it or not. I said that at the start. I don't give him any treats. Did you see me give him any treats?
No.
So how do I reiterate the gratitude? We praise him, we let him know he's done a good job. They work on a huge bond between us and the dog because they know I'm giving him all this work and they love doing it. If I start giving him treats, he would have a full belly of food halfway through the day for every treat, every good thing he's done, and he would have digestive issues. It can actually be fatal to a very active dog. So that's why they get a good high protein food when they're finished work and lots of praise when they run back to us, and that's how they know that they've done a good job. And they love doing what they're doing. That guy won't stop working today. He got some water there, which is important. He would work all day long on the hills to a point that he could get heat exhaustion. They're so intense. So that's why we always have a number of dogs when we go out for a long day's walk in the mountain. 40 or 50 minutes work, give them rehydration. They'll be ready to work in a few minutes later, but it's important for them to get that break. And it's important to have another dog on standby to help them out or to take over the work if we need. Okay. We can work 2 dogs together sometimes, but to work 2 dogs together, you need separate commands for each dog. I have 4 dogs here. If you've never seen a dog working before, I could let all the dogs go and I could say come by to the 4 of them. They'll run up the field after the sheep and I'll say lie down, and I'd hope and cross my fingers and toes that they'll all lie down at the same time, but it's a bit of a lottery. It can get very chaotic very quickly if one starts taking over from the other. That's why if we're working 2 dogs together, why 2? It's easy control, 2 at each side of the flock. Give them separate commands for left and right, so combine away for one dog, go left, keep right for the other, maybe different whistle tones so you can walk the 2 dogs together. So that's why the skill. How do they know? Well, you'll train them separately up to fully trained standard. And then I will basically have one of the dogs beside me on the lead, and I'll work the other dog around it. I'll work it on the sheep. And basically every time I give that a left or a right or a stop or a lie down, I'm telling this dog its stop command. Okay, so basically different commands per dog, exactly. So basically every command I'll give the dog on the right will mean a stop for the dog on the left and vice versa. It's almost like you're a composer at the orchestra. You're blowing out different tones and you're trying to get the 2 dogs to work in tandem. Okay, quite a skill.